I just like felt almost at the edge of burnout. Like I was doing this, I was making like some decent money, but I was not having fun.
Welcome to Momentum with David
So
Bain.
help me with the pronunciation of your name, and then we'll get into a little more discussion, Diego.
Yeah, sure. It's Diego Toda de Oliveira.
Okay, I'm good for Toda. Toda. Oliveira.
Oliveira.
Oliveira. Okay,
Yeah.
got you. Okay, so welcome to this discussion. The goal of this is I'm really interested in speaking to people who are using tools that's similar to the tools that I'm using, and knowing that you started out with, raw coding and then WordPress. What attracted you to Webflow?
Yeah, well, that's a good story because like when I started my career, I was more into like the creative side of things. So like I opened like a small agency here in Brazil with my wife, and I was doing like mostly graphic design work, brand design work, which was like the things that I was really passionate about, like designing stuff, like creating something visual, right? Uh, and like designing and building websites was like a part of the business that was actually making more money compared to the other activities that I was doing on the agency. And then like I started like just doing stuff with WordPress because it made things easier because there's like a CMS, there's plugins, etc. But at some point in my career, I just found myself like being like a full stack WordPress developer and just doing development stuff. Like I was not touching like design work at all. And like was very frustrated with what I was doing because it was basically, yes, I was building like custom themes, custom plugins, like working with like customizing the WordPress backend and adding features, etc. So it was like a lot more technical type of work and then less creative work. And I was at some point I just like felt almost at the edge of burnout. Like I was doing this, I was making like some decent money, but I was not having fun. I missed my old days where I was like designing stuff, like doing things visually. And then I found like this guy on Instagram called JP, João Paulo. He's a former brand designer at Webflow. So he worked at Webflow. And like, because of him, I found about Webflow. And I felt like this is what I want to do. Because seems like with Webflow, I can be creative again. I can build like incredible websites, like incredible experiences. I can explore my creative side a lot more, and I can like do less coding because I was doing coding every single day, and I like to do that kind of stuff. But I know I kind of had enough of like doing custom coding stuff, like advanced like system configurations, etc. for a while. So I just wanted to like build cool stuff without having to touch too much code or no code at all. And Webflow for me was like the perfect solution for that because you can create like very good experiences with Webflow without touching a single line of code. There's like the interactions feature, the transitions between states with elements. You can build like very advanced stuff without touching code, and then that was really appealing to me. And I felt like, well, let's give it a shot. Let's see if I can restart my career with Webflow, and let's see how it goes. And I have, it's been like 2 years since then, and I'm having like tons of fun every day. I don't regret at all making that decision to move to Webflow.
What are the things you miss from WordPress? Just curious.
No. Simply okay. No. To be fair, like I think the only thing I miss from the WordPress ecosystem is maybe like the ability of like creating custom plugins, etc. But Webflow is already starting to address that with Webflow apps. So right. I do think that at some point we'll have like a better development experience and we can customize more like how Webflow behaves and like what you can do with Webflow with the Webflow apps. I don't know if it will be like the same as WordPress. I highly doubt that. But like being able to expand what you already have, like out of the box, that's something that probably that's the only thing that I miss from the WordPress world, and nothing else.
Got you. Got you. What was the transition like 2 years ago? You're now saying, I am moving away from the tools that I'm used to using because I found this tool that I really like. What was that like in terms of the
Well,
business?
yeah, it was actually kind of straightforward because like Webflow, it's basically work front end stuff. Like it's basically front end work. There's a CMS, but it's nothing like very complex. And I was already comfortable like coding websites from scratch if I had to. I was using WordPress, but if I had to like code a front end website from scratch, I could. And when I started using Webflow, and then I watched like a few tutorials from Webflow University to understand how everything works, it really clicked to me because Webflow, it's basically a visual code builder because I have like granular control over the HTML structure with Webflow. I'm basically creating CSS with the styles panel and properties, and like and then the interactions works like with JavaScript, and you can add custom code if you have to. So I already knew front end, the whole how front end works in general. So like taking all those concepts from front end design and development and bring that into Webflow was not that difficult because it like I said, it's like it was like coding but visually. I was creating code but visually. That's how I started working Webflow. And then I took like I think I took 2 months more or less to just like really dive into the tool and see like how far I could push Webflow in terms of like creating like cool stuff, like playing with interactions and learn how interactions work in general. I created like a few clonables to get started to have something on my portfolio because I had like zero projects to show my portfolio that I was proud of at that point. So I had to show something. So just spend those 2 months like building cool stuff with Webflow and putting on my public profile, like creating stuff that I could show to potential clients so I could start getting some work. So yeah, that's it.
Mm, mm, mm. Yeah, and clearly you've managed to put out quite a portfolio because I'm seeing stuff with Spline, with 3JS, like it's crazy stuff where you've combined React with things. That's ridiculous to me at least.
Thanks.
So congrats, you're definitely getting stuff done. And there's more stuff that we'll talk about as we move along in the interview. So who's your ideal client at the moment, and how do you kind of evaluate?
Yeah, well, so when we started our agency here in Brazil, me and my wife, we chose the name for the agency, and the agency is called Favola, which comes from a term in Italian. We like how the word sounds, and translated to English is fable, like it's story, right? So I always love stories. Like I always love watching movies, watching anime. Like I'm a huge anime fan. So like telling stories was always something that I really like to do. And we started trying to do that with the agency. Like didn't go to the direction that we were hoping, but anyways, I'm here now as a freelancer, and now I got the opportunity to do the things that I love to do, which is telling stories through like good design, motion, and Webflow. So that's what I usually do. So the ideal client for me is the type of client that wants to tell their story to their customers, to their audience. So like telling a story in a way that is like more engaging, that helps them like improve awareness. Like people will go to their websites, they will learn about their story, they will keep engaged through the whole experience, and they will remember them. Like it's like some clients that want to create memorable, engaging experiences to drive like either like user retention or like drive conversions, whatever, but like using the idea of storytelling as a driver to achieve their goals. So that's the type of client I'm looking for working with.
I think that's pretty clear. And based on what you're saying, motion design and Webflow, clearly you also have code, which means you're not just a triple threat, you're like a quadruple threat in terms of the stuff that you're doing, which is great. So I want to kind of give you an opportunity for a little bit of show and tell. If you want to share the screen, let me just make sure. I don't know if you're set up at the top. If you're not, then don't worry about this. You can just tell, you don't have to show. But walk me through maybe one Webflow project that you really like, that demonstrates some of your creative process, and that really pulled on some of those different things, motion, design, that you're allowed to show, obviously.
Yeah, well, sure. I can share like a couple of my latest projects here, for example. Let me share my screen. Can you see it?
Yeah. This is Givingly.
Yeah, so this is probably one of my favorite products this year, and like I said, this is the ideal type of client for me. Like they came to me, they really wanted to like use storytelling and use like anything that we could use visually and with motion, etc., to tell their story, the product story, to create like an engaging experience to help drive conversions. So that's the ideal type of client for me. And I had lots of fun with this project because the brand itself and the product itself, they are really fun, and they have like tons of things I could use creatively to create that experience. So this is like it's a one pager for now. We're working on more pages here, but I really like all the things that we did here with those stickers. Like when you load the page and you see like all those stickers popping up, and like here, move your mouse, you can see like the stickers moving. And then once you start scrolling, the stickers move away, and then you have some of them inside. And then everything in terms of color theme changes. And it's because of the nature of the product. Like the product, it's like it's an app that allows you to create like very fun and very custom virtual cards, and you can like attach virtual gifts for them, like a little gift card from a specific brand. So it's a very fun project app, right? And like there's this concept of like creating different types of cards and themes. So they chose a couple themes, and like each color represents a specific theme. Like for example, we have like happy birthday, and once you start clicking, you can see inside the app the card changing, the stickers are changing, and the whole color of the website changes as well. So if I start scrolling back to the top, the hero section now is themed with the theme that we selected before. And if I scroll back again and click again, it's the same thing. So this part, it was like very fun to build. So let's say this is like 80% Webflow, 70% Webflow, and 30% custom code. I use GZap here to create the animation. This is like, let's say, works as a custom slider. And I'm having lots of fun building custom sliders with GZap.
Just so people know, GZap is the green sockets animation.
Yes, exactly. It's a JavaScript library focused on like creating like very interactive animations and interactions. So that's what I use here to create this slider effect. When you click on the buttons and you see like the cards changing, new stickers popping up, and then the color of the whole background, the whole color theme changing. So that's what I did here.
Nice.
But the whole scrolling experience, like when you see the stickers going away or going into the app, this is all done with Webflow interactions. And like scroll-based interaction is something that's probably my favorite stuff to do with Webflow. Then like we have this bento grid here, which is also extremely fun. And helps
I hear
like
bento is a new thing.
Yeah, like this is like a trend right now, and like see a lot of bento grids out there. They're like for tech startups and like projects like that. So I wanted to have like a bento grid to help like explain features of the app, but with a little, let's say, a little twist. So it's not your standard kind of bento grid, and some of the elements that we have on the bento grid is like exploding their containers, like going outside of the container. So like it's fun because of the colors. It helps like explain the features, and all of the interactions we see here are also done with Webflow. Like all the other features we see here are all done with Webflow. The color changing, everything is moving. The only part that uses custom code is that part at the top with the custom slider. So we keep scrolling here. We see more stuff about gifting and like more interactions. Then we have Gimli Cache. Oh yeah, this is another piece of custom code where you can click inside the app and you can see like the amount changing for your Gimli Cache. Like this is like a custom gift card. You can add like a specific amount of money and send to people.
So
and like
does this actually like, is this just a demo, or are you able to actually jump straight into the app from here? Just curious.
No, it's just a little demo about this specific feature. So demo like these buttons are these buttons are clickable just to make the things a little bit more interactive, right?
Yeah.
And then and then this and this that uses like some custom code for the SVG path animation. So yeah, I had tons of fun building this project. So there's this one that uses a lot of Webflow interactions and some custom code. And then there's also like 3D stuff that like I'm passionate about 3D, and I really want to like try to apply that more into my projects. So for example, I created this template here. It's like a free template. Anyone can just go to my profile on Webflow and clone it. And it's like demonstrating what you can do with Webflow interactions and spline right now. So like mixing a little bit of 3D with custom interactions with Webflow. Yes, this is a spline scene. Like this card here is a spline scene. So we mix this. So I mix this spline scene with Webflow, and I start scrolling. We have this whole scrolling experience where the card rotates. Then you go to the next section, you see more cards, and then like you go here, you see like these like little UI elements popping up, and then you scroll here and you see the card jumping into a phone mockup. It's a 3D mockup as well. And that's it. Like, and this is like, this contains zero code. It's just Webflow interactions in a spline scene.
So to be clear, in this one, spline scene, but Webflow does the interactions on the spline scene.
Exactly. I only build the structure on spline, and then all interactions inside the spline scene are done with Webflow interactions.
Sweet. And the previous one, the Givingly, did you use variables? Did you use Webflow CSS variables?
Yes, exactly. I use variables.
The color transitions and stuff like that.
Yes, the color transitions is all done using CSS variables, and also the animation at the bottom on the footer where you scroll and you see like the SVG path animation happening. This is also done with CSS variables.
Okay, excellent. So this is great. I'm glad we did this show and tell. So people believe me, you know, I'm saying I like your stuff. You're showing me the stuff. So yeah. So there's some, I don't know if this is your latest innovation, because this happened a couple of weeks ago, and from what I'm seeing with you probably have done like at least another thing since then. But what came on my radar is something called magic elements. So Webflow now has the capability for people to extend it with apps. And so one of the apps that you've built is Magic Elements. And of course, I'm inspired because I want to write my own Webflow apps, but I might be 6 months away from my first Webflow app just because time. Yeah. But I'd love to see like the backstory and a little bit about Magic Elements.
Yeah, sure. Well, Magic Elements is actually my third Webflow app. I launched 2 other apps before, which is the Better Shadows plugin to help you create like realistic shadows in Webflow, and also the Simple Icons, which uses the simpleicons.org library. It's a library of like thousands of like brand logos. So if you're looking for adding like social media logos, for example, you can just use that, search the logo and just insert as an SVG. So I've been playing with these ideas like little useful utility apps, just like magic elements, for example, and to explore like the waters, like see how the development process of Webflow apps is, and see like if this is something that I can explore as a second, let's say, revenue stream, like maybe creating some paid apps in the future that help people like achieving more stuff with Webflow and like just make some money out of it, right? And yeah, magic apps, it came up from like some Twitter conversations about people discovering the DOM element. So for Webflow apps, you can create new elements inside the canvas with programmatically, but when you do that, it creates like a custom HTML element called the DOM element. So you can just transform like that specific element in Webflow in anything you want. Like it can be like a div, can be like a native button, which is something that people have been asking for ages in Webflow. There's no native HTML button in Webflow. So you can use that DOM element to just build anything you want, like custom HTML elements, etc. So people were crazy about that on Twitter. And I felt like, well, the way to use DOM elements right now is really clunky because you have to use another app and then just like, for example, use the Unsplash app and then take the element the Unsplash created, clean it up, and then copy and paste another project so you can use the DOM element. So it's not the ideal workflow, right?
Yeah.
So I felt like, why not make people's lives easier and just create an app that allows them to add a DOM element to their project with just one click. So that's how the idea of magic elements started. So a one-click button to add a custom DOM element on your project, and then you can do whatever you want. But then I felt like, why not like just go beyond and add more samples of what you can do with DOM element. And then I did a little bit of research and it found like some interesting HTML elements that were not natively supported on Webflow. And I just created like a list of those. And magic elements is that, like you can add a custom DOM element on your project, or you can just click on the other options. I think there's like around 16 different other elements. And you can just basically insert those elements, those native HTML elements into your project with just one click. So we have like native button, we have like the progress bar, we have like data list, we have like custom iframe, custom audio player, all those things.
Yeah, I saw the audio player. I'm interested in that because of my recent audio experiments.
Yeah, exactly. So you can just use those HTML elements, add into your Webflow project. So this is something that were not possible before Webflow apps, and now it's totally possible. So I just created like a list of things to like make things easier, and that's what I've been doing with Webflow apps, trying to find like small little problems that people face every day and try to create solutions to help with that. That's for me, it's the best way to find like, let's say, business opportunities, because that's what I'm looking for exploring Webflow apps.
And how much of it is scratching your own itch where you're on a project and you need this versus somebody just said it and you said, let me build this?
Yeah, well, I think that the first two projects, the first two apps that I created, the Better Shadows and the Simple Icons project, they started as my own needs. Like I definitely use simpleicons.org a lot. So like, and you can go there and just click on an SVG, copy and paste, etc. But I want to like to work faster. So with Simple Icons, I was solving that by just having like a search inside Webflow where I can just like search whatever icon I need and just click and have that in a couple seconds. So that solves one of my problems. And Better Shadows is also a problem because like I love to create like custom shadows that look more realistic. But to do that with Webflow, it's very time consuming. Like you need to create like several layers of box shadows manually on Webflow to have like a good result. And then I found like articles on the internet about like creating realistic shadows. I found like a JavaScript package that does that. And I thought, okay, this is perfect. This will like make my life easier creating like better better shadows for my products, right?
Right.
And that's
right.
how the better shadows idea came on. So like I start with like trying to solve my own problems, because these might be everyone else's problems as well. And then I just like search for other problems on the internet if I don't have any ideas.
Yeah, I think for me, I've seen that where when, at least for stuff that I do, when I'm solving and scratching my own itch, and then I look around to see who else has that itch, that makes more sense to me. So this podcast is that. I know we're out of time. There's lots more I wanted to do, but so let's wrap up. Where can people find you if they want to connect with you, and anything else that you'd want to say in wrapping up, Diego?
Yeah, sure. So like people can find me mostly on social media. Like I'm very active on Twitter. So like if you want to find me, Twitter is the best place for that. I'm also on LinkedIn. And then like another thing is like I just launched a Patreon page. So like I see people like learning new skills out there, like learning how to use Figma, learning how to use like After Effects, for example, learning how to use Webflow, like learning isolated skills. And I felt about like, what if I help other people like to understand how to mix all those skills together to create like better stuff, to create like more engaging experiences. So I just launched a Patreon page, which is about that, which is about like giving people like let's say unfiltered access to my brain, how my brain as a designer and developer works, how I solve problems, how I mix all those skills together. So maybe that helped other people understand how things can be done to create something unique and something engaging. So yeah, that's another place you can find me.
Okay. Well, I'm really thankful for this time to talk with you, Diego. I am inspired to see how you stuff anyway. Thank you for making the time. Okay. So we're done. I'm still recording.